Today on Terraformers, the Terraformers destroy an ancient civilization in favor of their own with no regard for the original inhabitants. Of course, this is Star Trek, where they screw up every first contact situation in the worst way possible. Today's episode is Home Soil. The entire planet of Valara 3 is being terraformed by only 4 people. That's a little odd, so minus the first point. Another point lost for reused video of Geordi and Data over and over again, no matter what is out the view screen. Either that, or Data pushes the same buttons all day long. Captain Picard poses like Peter Pan. Tasha says her favorite line. Geordi almost says the lights are on but nobody's home. And this is one of the few times you see Picard rubbing his neck. And they're all thinking, oh my god, we just found the secret base of General Gogol in all those James Bond movies. No wonder he's been so secretive. Data is so nervous he keeps pushing the same buttons. 1 point lost here. He's muted, but he can still see them trash talking him. Jean-Luc performs the Picard maneuver. Yes! Deanna says she has to go back to work. Of course, her job is to spy on other people's brains. Minus 1 point here. This entire dialogue is just to hype up the audience so they will stay past the opening credit. Because at this time, nothing is really going on down on the surface. Deanna Troi says the first eye. Picard tells Riker how to walk. This is a nice matte painting, which are now a part of movie history. Minus 1 point for not bringing down a science research team. This is Louisa Kim, Gardener of Edens, and now she's Arthur Malenkon, the hydraulic specialist. And never ever apologize for somebody else. This is how you shake hands and social distance at the same time. This is how you shake hands the old-fashioned way. Troy says the other two are secretive. It's really because they've been downloading porn for years since they don't get many visitors. Now she describes how terraforming works without the Genesis torpedo. It takes a long time. The purpose of this scene is to lure the audience into thinking everyone hates Mallinson, so minus 1 point. The next point is lost since they should know that the water is salty for a reason, and even a lifeless planet is still going to do things to maintain its own balance, and if you throw that out of whack, you are going to have big problems. Now Geordi thinks he's Director Mandel. Now it seems Director Mandel doesn't like Mallinson either, and there he goes. They're all like, we'll never see him again, now will we? Geordi and Data explain the unique features of this planet. Deanna says Malenkon is pregnant. Well, in today's world, you never know. The console has been jammed. And that's the end of Mallinson. Aww. Minus 1 point for a video of a still photo of the laser.
Situation report number 1.
The planet is not rotating, so minus 1 point. It would not be a planet the terraformers were looking for. Minus 1 point for the first officer's log talking down to the audience like we forgot what happened during the commercials. And he's nowhere near a recorder. Data's going in there.
I'm going down there.
He's going down there. I wouldn't.
Look closely. His head is to his side. Now it's facing up, so minus 1 point. Minus 1 more point for no smoke coming out of that blasted container. Louisa thinks they should all be blasted by the lasers. That's morbid. Data makes a discovery. Data would never have his back to a laser that just killed someone, so minus 1 point. Minus 1 point for this terrible way of getting salt out of the water. It will take forever, and a desalination plant is a real thing. The salt creatures would have gotten caught in these pipes and into the computer system and still wreak havoc in just a different way. Minus 1 point for Data not standing right under the laser because that's the safest place. And there he goes. Didn't they have a running down the hallway scene just a minute ago? Minus 1 point for not beaming him out immediately. Data concludes somebody was behind the wheel. Then he says, there was a mind working against me. In reality, Data, that's just called being married. And your typical scientist forgot that thing just tried to kill 2 people. General Gogol realizes Picard is onto his scheme to conquer the world. Tasha says, eye number 2. And they're still convinced that it was a human that did it, not the crystals. Look closely. Riker says the plant has been powered down. Worf says life support is controlled by the Enterprise. So if you're wondering why the lights are on when it's powered down, these little blurbs that are easily missed explain those things. Tasha says eye number 3. Now they see the culprit at the bottom of the chamber. Minus 1 point. Data is inorganic and he's alive. Geordi should know that. Minus 1 point for this captain's log. They always act like they've never met inorganic life before. There's at least 3 instances here. And what about this guy? Minus 1 point for saying there's never been a test for inorganic life before. It is their job to look for these things. Ironically, in a few years, they're going to do the exact same test and act like they've never done it before again. Data wants to learn about reproduction. I guess he's finally reached that age. Look closely. This is the normal view. This is factor 5, then 2500 diameters. When she says demagnify, it goes back to factor 5, not normal, so minus 1 point. Minus 1 point here for the computer saying life and not a life form. The computer just doesn't speak that way. Geordi and Wesley are both thinking, we're going to make millions if we write a book about this. Minus 1 point for Wesley having less than 5 lines, and minus 1 point for wearing the rainbow shirt in 2 episodes in a row. Director Mandel is just blown away that it's a life form. Captain Picard says, I've seen you in those James Bond movies. You're capable of killing, you know. Poor Director Mandel. His entire career is now in question, all because of Picard nosing around and accusing him of violating the Prime Directive, which they do every episode. Picard wants to know about the others. Deanna says Louisa is an airhead, then suggests she is just perfect for her ex-boyfriend. Louisa says, is it true? Riker replies, yes. Deanna sent me here so she can make up a reason to blame me for something later when I really didn't do anything here. Women are like that, you know. Then Riker says, would you like to see the crystal we found? Louisa says, maybe later. Let's do the nasty first just to piss off Deanna. After all, she called me an airhead. Minus 1 point for Dr. Crusher saying come down here instead of showing the crystal on the viewer. They think the crystal is now the left fielder. Data is still the only one that says this thing is intelligent. Shout out to this quick scene. Geordi says the ultraviolet light is changing, then covers his visor and eyes. These quick details are always quickly forgotten too. The crystals are now talking to the computer, so minus 1 point for the crew not asking the computer how that's being done. Now there are 2, and the crew is thinking, when was it okay to start showing reproduction on cable TV? Worf says I number 4. They act like this is a bad thing, but this is what they want. It'll help them in the long run real quick. Geordi says I number 5. That means it's time to drink. Bjorn reads from the night before Christmas. Louisa asked, why was she never told this? She would have been there when all these things were happening, so minus 1 point. Picard wants to know, did you ever feel? Bjorn thinks the crystals are the third baseman. The 3 amigos analyze the crystals. Worf again always gets the best lines.
But is it alive?
Probability positive.
I wasn't asking you.
The next point is lost since the engineer says come down here instead of show the issue on the main viewer. Valuable time is lost that way. The crystals took over the bathroom. Yes! Riker is thinking, hey, aren't you the one that made Kirk fight the Gorn? He doesn't say Captain Picard, so minus 1 point. And this might be the only time they ever mention a nursery. Minus 1 point for this captain's log talking down to the audience. We did not forget what happened during the commercial break. Slowly moving the planet and stars is poor special effects, so minus 1 point. Picard is with the scientists in the conference room. They come out this door, but Picard is already on the bridge, so minus 1 point. This is what the microbrain thinks of humans. Data should know humans are more like 50% water, so minus 1 point. Now for long-boring attempts at peaceful communication. Picard uses the line that Captain Georgiou used that got them in the Klingon War. And now for the we are under attack dance. If you look at the extras in the background, they aren't as good at the dance. Minus 1 point for the microbrain learning the computer system just a little too fast. Riker says I number 6. This wouldn't work at all because the crystals don't breathe. Back in the conference room, they still think it's the third baseman that's doing everything. Dr. Crusher figures it out and saves the day. The microbrain has now evolved to a very fancy paperweight. And their water level was too far underground for light to get through, so they would not live off of light, minus 1 point. Now for some more cerebral conversation. Director Mandel wants to put his feet in the sand. Tasha is thinking about her deep, dark past. Wesley randomly appears on the bridge, so minus 1 point. Minus 1 point for terribly mushy dialogue. According to the Stardate, about 8 hours have passed, but it's been more like a day, so minus 1 point. They also didn't remove the terraforming station. Those crystals will still Federation technology, so minus 1 more point. They think they learned a lesson, but you just watch. It's going to happen again and again and again. And watch closely, the Enterprise kind of rolls upward before it takes off here. Home soil, a terraforming gone wrong, and we still don't realize inorganic life exists episode gets a score of 62%. So, who were the microbrains? Carolyn Berry is in the private club of being on the first season of both the original series and The Next Generation. Mario Rochuso has 90 screen credits, including The Monkees, Wonder Woman, and The Golden Girls. Gerard Pendergrass has 36 screen credits, including T.J. Hooker, Bachelor Party, and Falcon Crest. Elizabeth Lindsay was born on Hawaii and was Miss Hawaii in 1978, Hawaiian Woman of the Year in 2004, and has a PhD in anthropology. She directed the Native Hawaiian documentary And Then There Were None, and does a lot in the world of Polynesian anthropology. Really, she does a lot. And Walter Gotell played Director Mandel, who was born in Germany and has been in 7 James Bond movies. His 170 screen credits include The African Queen, The Road to Hong Kong, and The A-Team. Thanks for reviewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, and that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.